The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
If you have not seen my picks for the Western Conference side of the NHL playoff bracket, go hit the link in the description right now to watch the Western Conference picks, or do it at the end of you watching me do the Eastern Conference picks, which we are about to do right now in the Spark app. Also in the description, you can find the link to the SDPN Bracket Challenge on the Spark app, where you can win a lot of awesome prizes. So we are starting down at the bottom of the bracket, round number 1 on the east side. And we have scrolled down to the Hurricanes and Devils matchup, where I think a lot of people are on the Hurricanes, where they think that this is one of the best teams in the league that's going to challenge, hopefully, for the Stanley Cup. And I think that a lot of people look at the Hurricanes and they say they're one of the best. They have been the last few years, and that they're going to continue to be there with this team that sold off Marty Necas, and they had Mikko Ranson. They got rid of Ranson, but then they got Stankoven, and they look good. The Carolina Hurricanes have looked good all season long, and despite the questionable trading, they have not wavered from looking good. But this is the series I think I'm going to zag the most on. Maybe it'll be the next one. We'll see when we get there. But I think this is my outlier series in that I think the Devils are a lot better than people are giving them credit for, because the record hasn't been great. The record on paper hasn't been the best, especially in the second half of the season, but they have not been playing for much. They did finish 7th overall in the Eastern Conference if you just sort 1 through 8, which is not great, which speaks to the record thing that I'm talking about. But when you look at the matchup in goal, you definitely give the Devils the edge there over Frederik Andersen and Kochetkov. You give Markstrom the edge there over those two goalies. And then you look at the power play, where they are one of the best in the league. You look at their goals against per game, where they're one of the best in the league. And then you look at their penalty kill, where they are one of the best in the league. And the only place they're really struggling is to score goals. But in these playoffs, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, goals are always hard to come by. And against a Hurricanes team that has displayed over the last couple years that they really lack finishing power. They're really good at getting opportunities, but they do lack finish in the playoffs. And I watched closely the series they had against the New York Rangers, and I saw that they got a ton of chances, and when they had opportunities, they weren't able to capitalize on them. So for this to play out the way I think it will, which will be the New Jersey Devils, sorry, I don't have the mouse super close to me, the New Jersey Devils, which I just clicked there on the screen, and now we have our little mouse a little closer to us, in 7 games. So the New Jersey Devils play a tight series. The bounces go their way. Carolina gets a ton of opportunities, but they just don't capitalize enough on those opportunities, and the Devils eke out a win. That's how that series plays out. If the Devils are to pick up this victory, I can totally see the Carolina Hurricanes dominating, but I think I'm going to zag on the public perception right now that this is going to be a cakewalk for the Hurricanes. The Devils put up a real good fight. They at least make this thing a real close contest, and I think they pull out that Game 7 victory. Let's scroll up to series number 2, the Capitals and Canadiens. And if you told me a week ago to make my bracket, I think I would have went heavy, hard on the Montreal Canadiens. I don't think anything could have knocked me off the vibes that the Canadiens were carrying over the last couple weeks into the playoffs. But then they faltered. And I'm a huge proponent on how you're playing going into the playoffs matters. And they almost choked away a playoff spot to the Columbus Blue Jackets. They mustered out a win against Carolina. They left everything to the very last moment to get 2 points on the board to secure a playoff spot. They only needed 1, but they got 2. And now I think it's a little foolish to believe that the Canadiens can beat the Capitals. The Capitals, who have consistently been one of the top teams in the National Hockey League from day one to the end of the season. They finished first in the Eastern Conference. They've had just a revelation in goal with the lowest paid tandem in the league by far, and they've had expert goaltending out of no money. Ovechkin and his chase has not overshadowed their ability to win games. Like, they've been winning games even though they've had that distraction. And then you have the emergence of a guy like Strome, who I don't think anybody's like, that guy's a bona fide number one center. And then he plays this season, you're like, damn, this guy is a number one center who can hold his own on one of the best teams in the league. So, and then the back end's always been solid for a long time now with stalwarts like John Carlson back there, and Chikrin has really solidified the back end. And, you know, it's a really deep, good team. Faravari too, like, just off the top of my head, like, those three guys, monster seasons. So as much as I want to pick the Canadiens strictly on vibes alone, I can't bring myself to publicly put myself on the line for the Montreal Canadiens and say that they can knock off the 1 seed Washington Capitals. I can't do it. I'm going to pick the Caps. I'm going to pick the Caps in 7. This next series is actually like really easy for me. I don't know if anybody else is thinking this way, but I look at this Tampa Florida series and I say, if you're picking Florida, you're picking them strictly based on reputation. This is a team that is beat down. They are injured. They haven't been playing well the last 2 months of hockey. Who knows what you're getting out of Tkachuk? Everybody seems to be in and out of the lineup. And Tampa, on the other end of things, is top 6 in penalty kill, power play, goals against per game, and goals for per game. And they're one of the best teams in the East and secured home ice against the Panthers here in the Battle of Florida. So you have a strictly reputation pick because Florida is still the Stanley Cup champions. They are the reigning Stanley Cup champions. So you're like, hey, how are you ever going to bet against the reigning Stanley Cup champions? But on the other end, you have just the team that on paper is better and is playing better and has been playing better all season long. So, like, this is such an easy one for me. I'm going to just take the Lightning in 5. I actually don't think this series is going to be as close as anyone is thinking. I think the Lightning dominate here because they have been the better team in every single way. And the other end of the ice is a team that's been beat up, injured, is not playing well, and doesn't have the best numbers. So, like, for me, that out of all of the 8 series, I'm putting my money on the Lightning advancing to the second round. It might not be as quickly as 5, but I don't think the Panthers can last a full series with the Lightning at this point this season. I might be very wrong on this because I'm doubting the Panthers, but I just don't see it happening. And then we get to the funnest thing of all, the Battle of Ontario. And I won't spend long on this. I'll even tell you right now, I'm picking the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm picking the Toronto Maple Leafs in 5 games. They're making this thing easy on everybody this year. The Toronto Maple Leafs are playing some of their best hockey that they've ever played in this era. Chris Johnston actually tweeted out something very fun after their final game here on the season. He says, the Leafs played at a 122-point pace from February 1st onwards, going 22-7-2 down the stretch. Because of their reputation, the Toronto Maple Leafs only get talked about when they are bad and when they are losing and when the sky is falling. When things are going well in Toronto, it's quiet. You do not hear anything. You do not hear people talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this season, they've played boring hockey. They've sucked from an entertainment standpoint. But from a winning game standpoint, this is the best they've done in a long time because they're able to win these really bad hockey games. Even their final game of the season where they're down to Detroit and the game doesn't matter and Chris Tanev scores with a second left and then they win the game in overtime. Gritty wins like that do not happen for this team in the past. Last year was a disaster heading into the playoffs, and this year, on a 5-game winning streak, it's the complete opposite. And if you take these teams, just like with the Lightning and Panthers, where if you just take these teams on paper and you look at where they are and what they've done, like anybody who thinks the Sens are going to win, you're betting on magic from Brady Tkachuk and Allmark. Like, the arguments I've been seeing about the Sens making this thing a real good series is Brady Tkachuk is going to show up in these playoffs and be this other human being, this beast of a human being that's going to be able to match anybody's energy because it's playoff time and he has this next gear to get to. And that's nice and all. But what about the Leafs just like play good defense and score goals? Like, Brady Tkachuk can't be mean his way into 4 wins for the Sens. That's just, it's not something one single person who has the tenacity of 1,000 rabid dogs can do in a playoff series. That's just not how these things work. And on paper, this thing shouldn't be close unless Allmark finds a way to stand as his head. And like, that's also a thing that could happen. But on the other side of the net is the guy who leads the league in save percentage this season. So I don't know how you say that the Sens got like this distinct goalie advantage over the Leafs. The Leafs are as good as the Sens. The Leafs are better than the Sens on paper in every single facet of this game. And if they simply deliver what they're capable of, this series should not be a close one. But then we get to the Leafs thing about how they never deliver what they're capable of and they never rise to the moment. But my thoughts this year after watching this team very closely for 82 games is that this is kind of the year they're going to deliver, at least in the first round against the Ottawa Senators. Let me know what you think about these Eastern Conference picks. If you have not watched my Western Conference pick, the link is in the description right now. You can go click that. Don't forget to sign up for the SDPN Bracket Challenge in the Spark app. That link is also in the description. Hit subscribe on the Jesse Blake Sports Report YouTube channel. Hit like on this video while you're there. And you can also listen to this on your favorite audio platform. That is it for me tonight. Thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere in the world, which shows you listening or watching right now, and I appreciate you for that. Good night from Toronto.
And that is how it's done.
The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
Jesse Blake, the guy that likes to hear his name twice in one sentence. Sure, I know him. No, he doesn't have an ego at all.